Hello everyone, welcome to this video. Let's try to solve a critical reasoning question in this video. So I would ask you to pause the video and solve this question. You can take your time, but please be honest and solve this question on your own. Now that you have solved this question and you have come up with your answer, can you comment what was your biggest challenge in solving this question? You can comment in the comment box and let all of us know that what are the different challenges that the aspirant pool faces in solving critical reasoning questions like this. Now let's take a look at one of the approaches to solve this question, which we usually apply in the exam pressure and when where we have very less time to solve the question. So we try to solve these questions in less than 2 minutes. So let's see how we would approach this question superficially. So if I read this question, or rather the paragraph which is given here, so I'll try to note some of the key phrases which is there in this question. As we can see, the currently proposed 15% increase in minimum wage, it is touted as good for people employed at minimum wage. However, such an increase would not be good, rather bad, because businesses would lay off in response to the increased labor cost that would result from increasing the minimum wage. So basically, this paragraph is saying that currently 15% increase in minimum wage is proposed. So ideally, it should benefit those who are at minimum wage, but it will not be beneficial because businesses would lay off to offset the cost increase due to this proposed increase of 15%. So we have to find in which of the following statements is the one which most seriously weakens the argument above. So what so I've highlighted some of the key phrases related to the paragraph and the question which we are seeking to solve. Now let's look at all these statements. So we have to find a statement which weakens the above argument. So what is the above argument? So broadly we understood that increase in minimum wage will not be beneficial for those who are at minimum wage, right? So let's look at these statement. So ideally, what should weaken this argument? So any statement which says the reverse, that is, which says that increase in minimum wage would be beneficial for the employee at minimum wage and not harmful for them. So we have to find a statement which is similar to this. So let's try to find the answers. So first statement is for someone laid off. Finding a new job can take months and may require acquiring new skills. So this is in no way opposite to what the argument or conclusion is in the paragraph. So this cannot be the answer. For many businesses, paying the minimum wage, labor costs represent most of their operating expenses. So yes, because of this, they lay off, and therefore this will not be beneficial for the employees at minimum wage. So this is also eliminated. Recruiting, hiring, and training can involve significant costs for business. Okay, so it involves significant costs. So maybe because of that, businesses will be reluctant to lay off people because then again they'll have to train and recruit new pool where they'll have to incur significant cost. So maybe this can be one of the options which actually goes opposite to the argument which is given in the passage. So we can keep this option for review. D, it has been estimated that layoffs expected to result from increase would involve 3% of the people employed at the minimum wage. So again, this statement is also making sense that because of minimum wage increase, there will be layoff and and it has been quantified that 3% of the people which are at minimum wage, they'll be laid off. So this is also not making the sense which is exactly opposite. So this is the wrong option, can be eliminated. Lastly, even with significant increase, some businesses will continue to employ as many people as they do now. okay, so businesses will continue to employ. So perhaps this is also not strengthening the argument as such that because of the wage increase, people who are at minimum wage, they will be losing, right? So this can also be one of the options which can be our answer. But what is the actual answer? Is it C or is it E? So is your answer C or E? Comment and let me know. Before telling you the final answer, let's go through another method, which is a more structured way to think and approach the answer in these type of questions. So let's do this question again, but through a more structured approach. So this is the paragraph which I have already highlighted in the previous slides. So I'm not doing that again. And let's try to find out how to approach this question. Firstly, let's try to find the argument of the paragraph. So it is given that a 15% increase in minimum wage would raise labor cost. And the conclusion is this would result in layoffs, making the wage increase harm minimum wage workers overall. Now let's go to the question. So we have to find a fact which most weakens the argument. So first step is we'll have to determine the conclusion. Second step we'll have to identify some of the assumptions related to that conclusion. And third step, we have to find a fact that undermines the assumption and we'll reach our answer. So what could be the assumption related to this question? The argument assumes that layoffs caused by higher labor cost will harm workers overall. So this is the argument which we have already identified. What do you think is the most critical assumption related to this argument? Does this argument say that layoff will be widespread? Does this argument say that wage increase will not benefit anyone? Or does this argument say that businesses don't have other ways to adjust? This is a point which I leave for you to ponder. Now let's start evaluating the options. Since we have already eliminated three options, so I'm not evaluating them again. But let's evaluate option C and option E. Before evaluating, it's a general requirement that we should highlight key phrases. Now, in the exam, I don't think there is any option to highlight as such if you're on a computer-based test. But in your mind, or you should note these points somewhere. Either you should scribble this in your rough work, or maybe you can pay special attention to certain phrases when you are reading the statements. But you have to be very careful with each and every single word which is mentioned there in the statement, because these one word can definitely emphasize a different conclusion which can impact the overall answer, because the question says most seriously weakens, so you have to be careful with every single word which is mentioned in the statement. Let's evaluate option C. Option C says that recruiting, hiring, and training employees can involve significant costs for business. The reason we have kept this option C as one of the answers is we thought because it is a significant cost to the business, so businesses will not lay off. If we extend this argument or statement, we can tell that why would business recruit again? This is a question that we can raise in this statement. Because their labor cost has increased and they need to cut the labor cost, so they lay off. So there is no requirement for them to hire again. This makes this statement false. And here you can also read that this increase in cost of hiring It may discourage businesses from laying off, but it does not directly address the extent of layoffs or their impact, and thus it is less relevant. This is not the answer what we are looking for. Now let's check option E. Even with significant increase, some businesses would continue to employ. So when we are reading the question in the exam pressures, these kind of statements are very dangerous. So we'll read this quickly and we'll come to a judgment that okay, minimum wage has increased and businesses continue to employ as many people as they do now. So generally, it will be beneficial for those who are at minimum wages. So we might reach to a conclusion that yes, this is saying that the overall scheme of increasing the minimum wage is beneficial for the employees. But again, this firstly, it only talks about some businesses and not most businesses. So there can be case that some businesses continue to employ, but most or maximum of them still lay off. So this will not definitely weaken the argument which is given in the passage, which I have also mentioned here, that this suggests that not all businesses will lay off, but it does not provide a quantitative estimate of layoff, making it less effective. Secondly, Secondly, it is also not mentioning how much percent of the people will be laid off, because what we are looking for is how many people are being impacted due to increase in the minimum wage. So if you are getting an idea that most of the people are being benefited because of this scheme, then that is the answer that you should be looking for. So what is the correct answer? So if you revisit the question and do it again, perhaps you'll be able to answer it. That option D is actually the correct answer, which we had eliminated when we were doing the superficial solution. And this is something which happens in the examination hall with the most of us, that in the exam pressure, when we are doing these questions quickly, we tend to mark incorrect answer, and which is the most challenging thing in critical reasoning. Let's try to understand why this is the correct answer. So this argument clearly says that 3% of the people which are employed at minimum wage, they will be laid off. Now let's try to dissect this. So 3% will be laid off. So this means that 97% will not be laid off. They'll still be employed. And these will be the people which will be benefited by 15% increase in the minimum wage. Now, what was the argument and conclusion? The argument was that this 15% increase in minimum wage is overall beneficial. Now ask yourself a question that if 97% people are being benefited because of this, so is it overall beneficial? It makes sense that yes, if 97% of people are being benefited because of increase, then it can be generally said that it is overall beneficial and not bad for the people. And hence, this will be the option which would most seriously weaken this argument, which says that increase in minimum wage will be bad overall for people employed at minimum wage. So this is the concept related to critical reasoning, and these kind of questions you can find in RBI Grade B prelims examination. At least 4 to 5 questions in reasoning is based on concepts related to this, which I have discussed in this video. And this approach will be helpful in solving such questions, although it requires a lot of practice and one cannot become a master by seeing just one video or practicing one question. It's a continuous process. And if you want to improve, you should solve 5 questions at least based on these concepts every single day if you aspire to clear phase one of any competitive examinations in which reasoning is one of the sections. So if you want to practice questions, I have shared a file in my group. So you'll find a question bank and then there is a separate file for solution. You can go in on the group, download those two files, and continue your practice. There are a lot of questions in that question bank, and this is only related to critical reasoning, so it will be helpful in your preparation and it will help you to practice more and perfect this art of getting answers in critical reasoning. Before I bid adieu, I'll ask you another question. So, if you can solve this question, kindly let me know what is your answer in the comment box, and I'll leave the solution also on you. And maybe after 10 days, I'll give the solution in the comment and I'll highlight the correct answer. So, if you think you can find the correct answer for this question, do comment. Thank you for watching the video. You can join the group, the Telegram group, and from here you can download the question bank along with the solutions. And still, if you feel you have some queries, you can email me here or you can comment in the group. There is a discussion group as well. So there also you can comment and your queries will be addressed.